Hello and welcome back to the FEZ show. It is the 12th of May 2020 and it is the Ginger Group once again, as joining me on today's podcast, well, FEZ chat show, is the one, the only Jack Pickering. Morning, mate.
Morning. Very happy that you're back at the helm after yesterday's abysmal stint for me. But yeah, no, it's gonna be good.
No, I think you did an amazing job actually. And how good was Remco? How good was Remco and having him on the show? He did so well on Saturday, spoke really well, really gave some great insight. So if you haven't seen yesterday's FEZ show with Remco Major about the sim race in Monaco on last Saturday now, please do, because there's some amazing insights and you get to watch Jack's wonderful hosting skills. So, you got the best of both worlds there. No, it's tough, but at the same time, I suppose once you do more, you will get used to it. But anyway, we have some interesting topics to talk about today, but we have to start, strangely enough, with Formula One, not Formula E, Formula One, because Sebastian Vettel is not signing with Ferrari. And a lot of people, Jack, a lot of people have been speculating that he might join Formula E. Now, what are your views on that?
No, I just don't see it. I just don't see it at all. Because the amount that he said the amount that he said in the past, he's moaned about the V6s. I remember when he went out he retired from the race in Sochi last year. He said something like, "I want the V12s back" or something like that. So, I mean, that doesn't really fit in line with Formula E. So I don't see it. Yeah, I just can't see him. I can't see him moving to. I can't see him staying in Formula One either. That I think that he will, based on what he said in his announcement from Ferrari, Sebastian Vettel will retire from Formula One and possibly from racing at the end of 2020.
See, that's interesting. Like, for me, I don't believe, first and foremost, I do not believe that Sebastian Vettel will be driving in Formula E. I know a lot of people said, look, there's two Audi contracts up for grabs. Lucas di Grassi's seat, Daniel App's seat. I reckon Audi will be mad not to re-sign Lucas di Grassi because even though he is getting older, he's still doing the business. Whereas Daniel App, as again, it's just a rolling 1 year contract. Obviously, he said in an interview with eFormel that obviously he'd love to stay. But there's things that could happen that always take things out of his hands. And Sebastian Vettel saying that I'm not racing for Ferrari anymore, and if he does come out to say that he's made that decision not to race in Formula One, then people have said, there's an Audi seat, German driver, German team. It makes sense, but will it happen, Jack? I don't think so.
No, I don't. I really doubt that it's going to happen. Yeah, no, I based on what he said, I haven't got the quote in front of me. I did have it in front of me a few minutes ago, but he said that basically because of the whole situation, we all need to reevaluate our priorities, and so that just sounds like he's going to spend more time with his family and not at a Formula One circuit, a la Nico Rosberg. He'll probably make a few appearances, but yeah, no, I don't
Well,
see it happening.
the thing is, right? I feel like we put a right downer on this straight away. We're like, no, not happening. Honestly, if Sebastian Vettel signed for Audi or signed for any Formula E team next season, I think me and you will be buzzing. We'll be like, oh my god, we've got Sebastian Vettel. Like, we're not expecting it. Obviously, what he said before about Formula E and obviously the engines, he's more on the I want beefy, loud stuff. I want things to be, as loud and as old school as possible. Because, he's probably at the age of 32, even though he's not old, but, he's probably like me and you. He still remembers the V8s. Like, the V10s for us were sort of being phased out while we were younger, but at the same time, like for him, he's grown up seeing those big engines, then seeing the V8s go, you know what, they're alright because they're still blisteringly loud, and then going to the V6s, which, in terms of sound, is a completely different kettle of fish. And then obviously, then you're going to virtually a sound of a double-decker bus when you go to Formula E. So that's a big come down from someone who wants loud engines to then drive something that's quite silent.
Well, in regards to if Sebastian Vettel does actually end up in Formula E, yes, I am throwing a party, and yes, you are invited. So, um, So yeah, but in terms of like the whole V8, V10, V12 era, yeah, he would have grown up watching the V12 and V10. I mean, like, he was the man of the V8 era. He won the last 4 championships on the V8 era for Red Bull, and so yeah, I think, and who knows, he probably would have won more had we not switched to V6s. But yeah, I still for me the V8s were the most unpredictable era because you just never knew who was going to win. Even in the years where like Button dominated, and even the years where Vettel dominated, you just didn't know what was going to happen next. And so yeah, and I think Vettel does. Yeah, and so yeah, I stand by the fact that Vettel wants to return to these old school to these old school engines and just relive probably the best years of Formula One. Those 8 years we had V8 engines.
I suppose what we'd said in terms of him watching, he definitely wasn't watching the V8 era because it started in 2006. So he had 1 year where he watched it in 2006 because obviously in 2007 that's where he made his debut in Indianapolis. So he's pretty much drove the whole V8
He was
era
actually
of
the
Formula One.
BMW test driver in 2006, and he drove in Turkey, and he drove out the pit lane and got a first time driving an F1 car. He drove out the pit lane, sped in the pit lane, and so is now the record holder for least amount of time in a career before getting a penalty at 6 seconds. So
What a legend! What a legend! Like that is something that
we
probably
want
won't
him
be
in
beaten. we
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 want that kind of record in Formula E.
Exactly. But the thing is, look, we'd love him in Formula E. We really would. Like, I know then people will continue the argument that Formula E is just a F1 retired driver home. But at the same time, you could argue that for a lot of series. Formula One is still the pinnacle of motorsport in whatever case or form. So therefore, you could say that about WEC. They're either the F1 drivers who never made it or the F1 drivers who go to retire. You could say that about WEC, and you could probably say that about many other different series, to be honest with you. So, I get the argument for that, but at the same time, I think we can refute that. And with the championship growing as it is, I think last thing to say is sort of on Vettel joining. It'd be great, and I suppose that would a driver of his caliber coming in, a 4-time Formula One world champion coming in to drive in Formula E, if he wants to do that, would bring Formula E into probably the next level of interest.
100%, yeah. I think Sebastian coming into Formula E would drive everything up in Germany. Maybe he would want to drive for one of the 4 German manufacturers, but yeah, I just still don't see it.
I suppose our friends at eFormLD are loving this right now because obviously the German, crowd will be
Get
huge.
Toby on the line right
Toby
now.
on the line, like, yeah, he's probably fueling the story of. Well, he did. He was the one who fueled the on Twitter the Audi story about. Well, both of their contracts are for sale, so you never know. But obviously, like as you said, like in Germany, it'd be huge if Vettel came, and obviously for eFormLD, that's like, winning the lottery. So having someone, because that will really engage, and obviously eFormLD, a German Formula E website who are extremely good at what they do, and I'm supposed their following will go through the roof as probably deserved, but. We are a Formula E show, but we're not going to talk about Formula E for the next couple of minutes. So if you want to skip, you can skip, but I'm pretty sure you don't want to skip. Because where on earth or who is going to replace Sebastian Vettel at Ferrari, and where is he going to go? Let's say he doesn't retire and he decides not to go to Formula E and he decides to stay in Formula One. Where is he going to go?
Well, these are the options because he's obviously not going to go to one of the midfield teams. He's not going to go to any of the teams like Alpha. He's not going to go to Williams. He's not going to go to Racing Point. He's not going to go yada yada yada. It's going to be it would be one of the top teams. Red Bull have already said no. We don't want him. We're very happy with our lineup. And the thing is, when drivers will leave, they've got Yuri Vips and Liam Lawson to come up in there. So that is, well, obviously he's leaving Scuderia Ferrari. So it's Mercedes, McLaren or Renault are the only 3 viable options. I can't see him going to Mercedes, especially because Lewis is there. And honestly, Lewis isn't one of my picks to go to for Ferrari. I'll tell you what my picks are in a couple minutes. So it's between McLaren and Renault, and I've been told by a mate that apparently Renault are apparently going to offer Sebastian something, because apparently Ricciardo's heart isn't in the Renault project anymore. So they might do a switcheroo, but I'm not sure. And then the other one is McLaren doing a switcheroo with Sainz, but they aren't my two options, because I'm certain that Sebastian will leave Formula One at the end of this year.
See, for me, let's say he doesn't leave. I don't think he has many options. He could, you made an interesting point before the show of him switching with Bottas and him partnering, which I think everyone would love to see. Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel in the same Mercedes car. And, that would be an unreal battle. Like even just the thought of it is just like, whoa, Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton in the same car. Like, it's what we've been dreaming of for years. So that could happen. I can't see him going to a McLaren. I can't see him going to a Red Bull or Renault. But in terms of who's going to take that seat, man, if I'm Daniel Ricciardo, I'm on that phone now. I'm like, this is it. Like, I went to Renault because I needed to get out of Red Bull. You didn't want to take me then for X or Y reason. You went with Charles Leclerc. To be honest with you, Ferrari going with Charles Leclerc, they probably made the right decision at the time, because they probably knew Sebastian Vettel was going to go in a couple of years' time, so you might as well get a young, stallion in a sense, who's going to race and going to be at Ferrari for a long time. So they've got their long-term future. Daniel Ricciardo now being, getting 30 now. So, he's at that time where he can spend a couple of seasons at Ferrari. And yeah, he went to Renault. He thought, let's see what they can do. Can they get him a race-winning car? Doesn't look like it. And obviously now with the new generation of car, which he was waiting for, he was going to wait till the 2021 season and see what they could do with the new car. Could they actually catch up? But now that's been delayed to 2022. For me, this is now Ricciardo going, I can't wait till 2022. Ferrari's just come about. So I could race him for Ferrari in 2021. And be at Ferrari for the new rule change, and Ferrari should be quick. So for me, it makes sense. If I'm Daniel Ricciardo, and I think Ferrari as an image, having Daniel Ricciardo in the car, I think it will see a new side of Ferrari. We might get more of an in-depth analysis into Ferrari, because Daniel Ricciardo is such a marketable driver. There's going to be a lot of press around him. There's going to be so many things around Daniel Ricciardo. So many people are interested in him. He's such a large character that we might see a different side of Ferrari, rather than this, veto Ferrari, this Ferrari that just wants everything, that breaks the rules but gets, has the FIA assistance with it. We might see a different side of it, which I think could be, really good for Formula One in itself.
Well, yeah. The three big rumours are Daniel Ricciardo, Antonio Giovinazzi, and Carlos Sainz. Those are the three big rumours that are going to happen. I'm not going to say any of them. I'm going to say two completely different names. Jack alluded to one just then. Just Ferrari, sign a blank check and write the name Valtteri Bottas on it. He chooses the numbers. You can and just try and persuade him away from Ferrari. He's been a brilliant number two to Lewis Hamilton, and so why not try and make him a number two to Charles Leclerc? My other, I'm just basing this on the whole like number two factor, because I know that Valtteri isn't the number two. He's capable of winning these races, and so. Yeah, he will be there on the day. No, Kimi wasn't really there to start with. He only really won that race in Kota a couple of years ago. But yeah, either get Valtteri in the car or buy Sergio Perez out of that seat at Racing Point. Now, obviously, he's locked in there till 2022. But the thing is, he was tipped to go there in 2013, replacing Felipe Massa, and so. Yeah, he has a Ferrari connection from a while ago, but also I think he'd make a capable number two to Charles Leclerc. Those are my two options, and I think they might be good, because if Perez or Bottas retires in about 5 years' time, you can promote a Mick Schumacher, a Robert Schwartzman, a Marcus Armstrong into that seat when they are ready to when they're ready to go in. In terms of Giovinazzi, I love the guy. I don't think we will see him in a Ferrari car though.
For me, I agree with you. I don't think we'll see Giovinazzi unless something amazing happens, right? Sebastian Vettel does a Kimi Raikkonen and says, you know what, I want to go back to my roots. And he goes back to Alfa Romeo because it's effectively Sauber, where Kimi Raikkonen also started his season. And then all of a sudden, you've got Alfa Romeo, Sebastian Vettel, and Kimi Raikkonen again, trying to build up Alfa Romeo, which would be hilarious. But then poor Antonio Giovinazzi, I don't think he'd get the Ferrari seat and he'd get shafted, basically. And I don't think Antonio Giovinazzi deserves to get shafted. He's probably one of those Formula 1 drivers that, sadly, if was to be shafted from the grid, he probably wouldn't miss, sadly, but what the majority of people would miss. But I think it'd be harsh on him. He's not done a bad job, and he's improved dramatically over the course of last season. So it would have been interesting if we did start this season to see where he was going to go. So, Sebastian Vettel, Formula E, yay or nay? You tell us in the comments. Like, I'm pretty sure we'll see a lot of yays to that. But, you know...
No, it's not happening. It's not happening at all. I'm telling you now.
But if you're like Jack and you think, no, it's not going to happen, then tell us. Let us know. We'd be very interested. But moving on, sort of keeping Formula 1. Formula 1 has managed to take over this show today. Well done, Formula 1. Because Jean Eric Vergne came out with something really interesting and something that caught my eye, and I was like, what on earth are you saying, Jean Eric Vergne? He wants Formula 1 and Formula E to combine in the future. Now, I'll give you one reason before. He talked about the manufacturers. Obviously, Formula E have so many manufacturers, and, you know, Formula 1 is the pinnacle, but you can't really be the pinnacle if you don't have tons and tons of manufacturers in the sport, like sort of moving road cars on. So therefore, you know, making Formula 1 electric and combining with Formula E would be the right way to go. But, you know, what is your opinions on that?
Well, I do think that Formula 1 and Formula E will combine one day. But that's not going to be for about 40 years, I don't think. I think Formula 1 will be the last petrol-powered running in the entire world. They will be the thing that will use up the last of the fuel. Everything else will be electric by 2040. I can see IndyCar going electric by then. I can see all these other series going electric. Formula 1 will stay to its roots, and maybe when the fuel finally does run out in about 40 years, in about 30, 40 years time, that's when they'll merge, but not before then.
For me, I can't see it. Even in 34 years' time, I think they need to just be completely separate from each other. I don't understand merge. Like, I think Formula E just need to stay, do your own thing, let Formula 1 do its own thing. You're two completely different championships. And I just don't think it would work. Like, and plus then you're reducing now also the amount of racing that we got. I understand his premise. Of, you know, Formula E will probably be on equal terms maybe in the future with a petrol-powered car, and it might be just as fast as a Formula 1 car. That could happen, and then maybe at that point you go, right, we might as well merge because, you know, they're just as quick as us now. But at the same time, I feel like, you know, Formula 1 can go down a different route. Like, I know, you know, fossil fuels in terms of fuel and petrol, you know, they're not going to make cars like that, but what they might do is very BMW i8 sort of thing, where you've got that petrol tank, but the petrol tank's small. It's not the main ethos of the car. Like, it's just a really small petrol tank that would contain a little bit of fuel, but it mainly runs on electric. But you can get that extra mileage, yeah, because you've got the fuel. So basically, what you could run on, so then you're still not burning as much fuel, but, you know, you're still using petrol, and you can still have some loudness maybe in the car, because there would be some form of internal combustion engine in the car, but it obviously won't need to be as large as it currently is. And maybe you could run a race where they've got to use a mixture of, you know, imagine a rule where you've got a mixture of electric power and fuel power, but you can't finish on an empty fuel tank, and you can't finish on a empty, you must have like at least 1% of battery left, and so you have to manage your fuel efficiency and your battery efficiency during a Formula One race of an hour and a half or 2 hours. So you never know. I'm just talking rubbish, really. But that's what I see Formula One going down in the future. Like, they're still going to cling on to the petrol power, but they're going to move on and they're going to try and find new ways to use electric power and petrol power in a sort of hybrid, and sort of come up with rules that make the cars much more efficient, using less fuel, much less fuel than they would be using now, for example. And, creating a race that way, whereas Formula E stays as that one only true FIA, like, fully electric championship. Well, the fully electric single-seater, because I do believe you are right that other championships will go down that route.
Well, yeah, one thing that I do remember, and I can't believe that I'm mentioning this on a Formula E show, but Top Gear back in 2006 or something, they created the Hammerhead Eagle thrust,
Yes, I remember.
which was an electric car, but they had a generator in it, which
Was diesel.
which was diesel, and that always recharged the batteries. And
Yeah.
and the thing is that would use so little fuel, so it would be a diesel electric. So that maybe that's an idea for Formula One. Imagine if Top Gear inspire Formula One in about 20 years' time. That would be something to behold.
Jeremy Clarkson on his deathbed would be like, "We did it, lads. We did it. We were ingenious. We weren't ambitious and rubbish for a period of time." But that's actually quite good, and even that way that obviously I think James May came up with it, but that might be something that is used in Le Mans 24 hours. Having something that's constantly, because you don't want the Le Mans 24 hours to stop because we've run out of electricity, like the car's dead. So you want something that keeps recharging the battery. So, and rapid charging and stuff like that, and rapid.
Yeah, and then just like add the fuel every what?
So
you'd only really need a pit stop every
couple of
every
hours.
couple of hours, maybe.
Well, just for tyres, unless you wanted to.
Yeah.
Unless they.
Yeah, for tyres, and then maybe because the amount of fuel flow, they'd need to stop a little bit more. But yeah, no, that's just something that popped into my head. So I thought, yeah.
So going back to Jean Eric Vergne's Formula One Formula E combination. So he said manufacturers, and he wanted to combine the driver grid. This is where I was getting a bit lost with his sort of idea. So he wanted to sort of combine the driver grids, obviously a mixture. And what I mean by that is he wanted FE drivers to race in some races, and then he wanted Formula One drivers to race in other races. And I'm like, Jeff, that won't work. If they were to combine, you just have one set of cars, one set of championship, one set of drivers. There wouldn't be a need for, two sets of drivers. But he said you'd obviously have a mixture, which makes sense. You'd have a mixture of normal circuits and a mixture of street circuits. So he's sort of combining the best of both worlds from Formula One and Formula E. I don't understand his sort of driver grid, combining it. That was his sort of main reasons. He just, it's his ambition, it's his wish that he said in the story at Autosport for Formula One and Formula E to merge. But honestly, in my honest opinion, I think they just need to stay away from each other.
Yeah, definitely for now. Yeah, that whole combine the driver, that makes no sense to me. Yeah, as you said, there would be one grid, and that would be it. There'd be one grid, and they'd travel around the world and do their races, and then it would be a combination of the two. So it would be maybe have like a shootout all in like F2 cars or something. Have 44 F2 cars, and the top 20 get to participate in this F1 FE hybrid thing. But yeah, no, I don't see it happening. But one thing that I do see happening, and I'm just going to put it out that I won't elaborate on it more, but when the whole world goes electric by 2035 or 2040, I can see Formula E going like, right, okay, we've done our jobs in city centres. Let's go to Shanghai, or let's go to the Shanghai circuit, and let's have a mix of circuits. But yeah, I think by 2040, Formula E would have gone, we've done our job. We can go to other circuits now.
Yeah, the thing is, right, just before we move on, like, the calendar again, just looking at it in terms of places that we'd go, like for me, they still need to be in the heart of motorsport cities, like Brazil, but they need to get into some cities like Japan. They need to really, take this properly global, and keep going to some of the best cities in the world. But at the same time, I love that we went to places like Punta del Este, which I wouldn't have never have heard of
Yeah,
before
we need to go back.
Formula E. We could do, but then, as I said, like places like Croatia, places that are also beautiful and scenic, and like I think Formula E need to be like a place which would be really good for Formula E to sort of market themselves. But then how many races can you have unless you make everything a double header, which could be something that could happen in the future. You could have every race as a double header because it's only Saturday, it's only one weekend that we're there, Saturday and Sunday. And I suppose as Formula E become more popular and more money brings in, and especially if you're thinking tourism based, because that's what I'm thinking here. As a tourism base, like Formula E, that's what Formula One's amazing for, and that's what the Olympics, any sort of major event, any Formula One event, the tourism that it generates is huge. So going to these sort of places that generate these high tourism value races, and cities then won't mind double headers because that means more people eating at restaurants, more people buying tickets to the airport, more people in hotels for a longer period of night. So it helps the economy in a sense of those countries like Croatia, for example, which I think would be amazing because obviously people say Croatia is such a beautiful country, and if Formula E were to go and show that, maybe that might the Formula E race might stem its tourism. That's why people buy the Olympics, because you also show off your city, and hopefully that more people would come to the city because of said Olympics or because of said whatever. But anyway, moving on, because the last thing that we want to talk about is the Gen 2 Evo car, because we've talked about this before, but Jamie Regal has come out in an interview with the race saying that it might not happen. Gen 2 Evo, we made such a big hype about it, but because of COVID-19 and because they don't really want to delay Gen 3, Jack. So because of that, we'd only be having 1 year of Gen 2 Evo, and the costs of having Gen 2 Evo, which I'll get into in a sec, it will just be too much for 1 year's experience.
I think it's completely wrong. I think that we should delay Gen 3 by a year. Even though it's not like the ideal thing that they want to do, I want to see the Gen 2 Evo like in real life go around these city circuits because they look beautiful. So either that or make the Gen 3 even more beautiful than that, because I'd love to see this car on the streets. I think of all these capital cities, I think it'd be, I think it would be easier for the cars to race as well. I think that the cars would look more like actual races on these street circuits. And so yeah, I desperately want to see it. It's a shame we are not seeing it at the end of this year. But at the end of next year, please, can we have it for at least 2 seasons? Because that's how long it was supposed to last. Delay Gen 3. Please delay Gen 3.
So, what in terms of costs? Because obviously this is why they're thinking of delaying it, right? Costs. Not because it's mega expensive, but if you're going to do it for 1 year, then what's the point? Because then you're going to have to spend for Gen 3, and you'd expect Gen 3 to be more expensive than the Gen 2 Evo car. So you might as well keep with the Gen 2 chassis. We've all got them. We'll just pay for that and then carry on. So they're looking at 38,000 per car, and they say they'll probably need between 8 and 10 sets for it to do the year. So that's 380,000, let's say max, on the Gen 2 Evo car for the year, because let's say people crash and they want to rebuild it, they can build the chassis. It happens. So they said teams will probably roughly need 8 to 10 sets per team. So we're looking at about 380,000 then to run Gen 2 Evo for 1 year. Obviously you could then say, well, then that's you run it for 1 year, it's only 380,000. But if you don't crash, then you can keep some of them. And because the chassis won't be changing for the following season, so that means you've got less to buy for the second season, if that makes sense. So they're thinking that's a main reason why. And I suppose Formula E, they must really love Gen 3 because talking to even Gianfranco Pizzuto when we interviewed him, like if Gen 3 are delayed, would you just wait for Gen 3 to come? And, he wasn't that interested. He said we'd take over a team whenever. And whatever era it's total generation that it's in. But Formula E, they've been on the fence, and they have to make a decision about Gen 3. So we will know by the end of June, I think, or middle of June, they have to make a decision whether or not they are going to delay Gen 3 or continue with Gen 3 at the start of what would be Season 9. Season 8, my apologies. Maths is hard.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's not like you're a teacher or anything, Jack.
No.
No. I strongly recommend everyone sending a strongly worded letter to Formula E Holdings in London about how we need the Gen 2 Evo car because it's so freaking beautiful. So yeah. So yeah, I would love to see this car on the road. And so yeah, no, I think even if we don't get like a season, can we at least just like see it in like real life? Just do like one run or something. I just want to see it.
The thing is, they made such a hype about it. They made such a hype. All these Gen 2 concept delivery.
Yeah.
Which was pointless because apart from Porsches, but even Porsches won't be the real one. They just did something fun with it. The rest just went, well, I'm going to use my livery and paste it onto the Gen 2 Evo and try and just make it look a bit nice. Which I would expect them to do because obviously sponsors aren't signed for Season 7, so you want to keep your current sponsors happy by putting them on the Gen 2 Evo car, so you keep in the same livery. So it was a great publicity stunt for Formula E, probably not well executed because it got very boring very quickly. One thing I want to say, because going back to the Sebastian Vettel thing hilariously, which I think we should mention, let's say he does retire. Yeah. And Scuderia E. Is Sebastian Vettel, do you think he'll have the connections to bring Ferrari in to partner with an Italian team and that's it? That begins Scuderia E's life. He is one of the first Scuderia E drivers in partnership with Ferrari.
Do you know what? I think Seb Vettel will make a brilliant kind of like team principal kind of thing. So, underneath Gianfranco, Sebastian Vettel, sorted. I think that would be super cool. But do I see it? We will have to see.
See, you think, even in your brain right now, you think, what?
It's because you've literally just thrown it on me, and I'm just thinking, oh, possibly.
That's interesting, because I'm just, as I said, it pretty much came to me just now. It's like, we forgot about Scuderia E here, and they're an Italian team. They want to, their dream is to obviously bring an Italian manufacturer into Formula E, and now they've got Sebastian Vettel, who has a history, who may want some time out of racing, and may want to come back at some point, or come back as a team principal role, you never know, and say, you know what, I'm interested, but, I've got a link to Ferrari here, do you want me to, maybe not, it won't be Ferrari, but maybe Ferrari can act like BMW did, and like Mercedes did with HWA in terms of that might give you some helping hand. But Jack, I think we've pretty much run the course. I think the Ginger Group, has been a very successful.
Yeah, no,
quite well.
Yeah, I think it does well each time.
I think maybe we should just kick everybody out and just carry on.
Yes, I'm down for that.
Thank you so much for watching. Remember, if you have been enjoying the content, please remember to hit that like button and that subscribe button. We have so appreciated the talk rate lately. And if you are really enjoying the content and you want to come and join us talking about Formula E, we have a Discord link. Okay, we have a Discord link. It'll be in the link below. Make sure you come check us out. We've got Remco's in there, who was on the show yesterday. We've got some amazing people in there, talking Formula E. It's been so amazing to talk to you about it and to talk to Formula E about you. So please come and join. It's a great laugh. You can even listen to your own music somehow via bots. It's amazing what bots can do. But thank you so much for watching. We will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.